Hey, we're back. I haven't done a video in a long time. I haven't had a reason to do a video in a long time, but it's free agency. It's almost here. Like I forget which days are officially. There's the tampering period, and then the days you can officially sign. Point being, it's almost free agency time. Um, Stuff's already happening. Uh, Rumors flying. Uh, all sorts of crazy stuff. Um, for the Vikings, I mean, we haven't done anything yet. They haven't released anybody. The only thing they did, they signed Theo Jackson to an extension the other day. Um, you know, kind of following the pattern that they did with like Metellus and Bynum, where kind of an up and coming safety they keep in the mix. That probably means Bynum's gone. Who knows what it means for Harrison Smith? That's I think that's pretty much going to be up to Harrison Smith. But that's the only thing that's happened. And there have been moves throughout the league. Some other things have happened, but I'm not even gonna attempt to remember them now. Um, Obviously, the big thing with the Vikings this offseason is quarterback. Um, Lots of stuff flying, lots of rumors flying. Um, you know, like obviously JJ McCarthy is here. He's going to be here. Sam Darnold, lots of reports. I mean, you got to take all these with a grain of salt. Um, um, you know, there have been reports that the Vikings might want to keep him. There have been reports that they're going to get rid of him. Whatever. Like I think the plan all along, especially when Darnold flamed out in those last two games, and this may have been their plan anyway. Move on to JJ McCarthy. Keep with the original plan of moving on to JJ McCarthy, um, and go from there. Let Darnold walk. Let someone else pay him the money. Um, something tells me the market is not going to be for him what may have been anticipated. There've been some talk about him going to the Raiders. Then Geno Smith got traded to the Raiders, so now there's talk he might go to Seattle. Um, you know, like I don't wish Darnold ill will. Like you know, I dumped on him when he flamed out those last two games, but you know, go get your payday. Go. I don't root against him. I don't root against him when he goes to wherever. But um, I don't think there's a lot of logic in at this point the Vikings investing any significant money in Sam Darnold. And I don't think they think there's any logic in it. He's gonna go. He's gonna go somewhere, and we're gonna have McCarthy, and we'll see who the other quarterback is. Whether that's Daniel Jones, whether I hope it's not Nick Mullins. I really don't. I really hope they don't. We don't go into a season where the only other option is Nick Mullins. I think that ship has sailed. I'm done with it. Um, or is it do they try another reclamation like they did with Darnold? You know, I think the hope is going to be whoever they bring in. You know, like going into last season, obviously, the McCarthy injury changed things, but I think they were going to roll with Darnold at the start anyway. Have some quarterback you can kind of play for a little while and let the kid learn. But the kid's learned. Like he hasn't learned on the field, but he's learned in old meetings and stuff. So, um, that time that this is a different scenario. So you want McCarthy to play. So whoever you have as your other QB, you want him to be a backup and hopefully never play. And there's QBs out there. There's similar guys to like a Darnold that'll be out there, and Daniel Jones is one of them. Who knows? They had him here for 6 weeks or whatever, and got to take a look at him, and he got to learn the system a little bit, but um, they never like had him active or anything. So you know, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? And of course, it has to be addressed, the absurdity of the Aaron Rodgers rumors, because officially he's done with the Jets. Um, I don't know if they had to release him or if it just said they're not going to bring him back or whatever, but he's done with the Jets. So everyone's like, oh, he's going to go to Minnesota, ha ha, because Favre did. But it's getting there's people out there who like real reporters, like respected reporters, who are talking about Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers will never play for the Minnesota Vikings. What would be the logic there? For one, I mean, go down the list. One, Aaron Rodgers is not going to sign anywhere where he is not going to be the presumptive starter. I don't think he would even go someplace where he'd be threatened with a competition, because he's an egomaniac. He wouldn't even accept that. He's not going to go someplace that he's not going to start. He's not going to come here and compete with J.J. McCarthy for the starting job. He's not going to do that. Two, there's just the circus involved with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like, we all hated him because he was the quarterback of the Packers for years. Respected him as a player, I guess. Thought he was a very good player, but I mean, he has tanked his reputation about as thoroughly as any major athlete that I've ever seen, and in record time. I don't think the Jets would have even wanted him. That a couple years ago, if they knew that he was going to do what he did. I mean, he's just an absolute raging egomaniac. And podcast stuff and conspiracy shit, like all that stuff that he does. Why would the Vikings want him? I mean, why would any team want him? I mean, I guess he's going to probably end up going somewhere. Some team's going to bring him in just because they have like no hope as a team anyway, and so hey, we'll bring him in. Maybe it'll give us some, attention, and I don't know. I don't know why anyone would even want him at this point, because he's been terrible. Like, he was terrible last year. And he's old. He's definitely in his 40s now. I mean, he's old. He's this isn't like, it's not even like a situation where, like, everyone makes the joke, oh, Favre did it. Favre went to the Jets and then went to the Vikings. Okay, well, he was really good for like a half a season with the Jets before he got hurt. So there was still some reasonable reason to think that he could still be good, and of course he was, and obviously got to within a bounty gate of going to and probably winning a Super Bowl. But like, Aaron Rodgers sucks now. He's not a good quarterback anymore. So why would we want him? And I don't he's not going to take like a veteran minimum deal. He's not going to accept being a backup. He's not going to accept a competition, and he's not good. So what would, and he's a cancer in the locker room. Plus, then we'd have to go get all of his buddies again. And he's a coach killer. He got multiple coaches with the Jets fired who had nothing to do with it. They weren't at fault for Aaron Rodgers being a washed up has-been. So, but it's getting reported like it's a real thing. Like, I would take anybody. I would take any quarterback as backup to J.J. McCarthy, or even as competition, if you want to say it's going to be a competition. I would take any quarterback that's going to be out there and available over Aaron Rodgers. And I think the Vikings feel the same way. I don't think any, if Aaron Rodgers had lit it up, with the Jets, and then, but the Jets were deciding, oh, okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to our young quarterback or something. I still don't think we'd want him. Like, why would we want him? It defies logic, but it's being reported on because some of these reporters are just, they're just married to this stupid idea that because Favre did it, oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to do it. Well, he ain't going to do it. I don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. I'm sure he's going to go somewhere. Some team will be stupid and take him, but he's not going to help them get to the playoffs. He's not going to be any good. So I don't know who the quarterback's going to be that we bring in. I mean, I would be fine if we just kept Daniel Jones as the guy, or if we go grab some, the next reclamation guy, or there's probably going to be some like more experienced guys. I suppose in this case you maybe wouldn't mind having the more experienced quarterback as a backup. I mean, I saw the name Jacoby Brissett out there. And it's like he's been a fine backup. Like he'll be okay. But I mean, I think they're going to stick to the plan and go with JJ McCarthy. The rest of free agency, everything. Um, Obviously, we got a lot of guys out there. Where, um, we didn't do anything with Byron Murphy yet, so he's going to hit free agency. Um, you know, Obviously, there's lots of talk about offensive line, improving the offensive line. Finally getting the it's a false story that the Vikings as an organization have ignored the offensive line for years. I mean, we've invested a lot of high round draft picks on offensive linemen. Now some have worked, some haven't, but they have addressed it. But I think now they're really going to go. It's not going to be like, oh, we'll pick up Dalton Reisner mid-season off the waiver wire, and we'll keep trotting Ed Ingram out there, you know, hope that he can finally figure it out. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think they're really going to put some money into the offensive line. Obviously, tackles, I don't think they have to worry about too much. Guards are the big one, and maybe center. I don't know. Like the names that are out there, like I don't follow the league close enough to know who to know like intimately the, the offensive linemen for you know AFC teams. Like they're just names. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. Um, I know the one from the Chiefs, Trey Smith, that everyone was talking about. Well, they franchised him, so um, he ain't coming here. Um, I think it's worth it to because like this is the season, this is the off season where I got all the cap space in the world. I think people are a little naive to think that because they have all this cap space that they're going to be able to go sign 10 elite guys. You can have all the cap space in the world. That stuff can go. That cap space can go fast. Um, and especially if you sign a couple of the top free agents out there at whatever position, like that can go fast. That can go really fast. Plus, we got a lot of guys, of our own guys, that we got to re-sign or possibly re-sign. We got a whole secondary practically that we got to figure out. So yeah, corners always going to be big, but I think I do agree with the notion that it's like, let's just invest a lot in the trenches. They're not the sexy positions, but they can win you games. They can help you control games. Um, Now, will KOC be willing to to be more of a pound it type of guy on offense? We got to figure out running back too. Aaron Jones is free agent. Maybe we'll bring him back. I would assume they'd bring him back at the right price. Otherwise, maybe we'll go searching for another back. There's a lot of talk about getting another wide receiver. There's some name wide receivers out there that if we wanted to bring in another guy there, you know, obviously, like, we don't have a lot of draft picks this year. Um, I don't think they've announced anything yet about the comp picks. We're supposed to get I think a third, but we're not gonna have a lot of draft picks, so gonna have to figure it out there. Um, you know, there is an argument to be made, and I'm all for going for it, trying to win next year. There is an argument to be made. Do we wait and see just a little bit what we have in JJ McCarthy? Um, you know, you know, do we want to go splurge now? And then what if JJ McCarthy turns out to be an absolute flop? Then we've got all these other players for nothing because the quarterback sucks. Um, and my expectations for JJ McCarthy are lower than a lot of people. I think And it's fine to be excited about it, but I think a lot of people are just like assuming JJ McCarthy is going to be some sort of star, and maybe he will be. I mean, I hope he is. I hope he is a star quarterback, and he's the guy for the next 10 plus years here. But you know, if he's not, do you want to invest all your resources now into the team this off season? Do you think that, like, because I mean, obviously, like, rookie quarterbacks don't usually get real far. Obviously, he won't be a rookie, but he'll be a first year starter. We've had situations where a guy starts in his second year, Dante Culpepper, and they get really far, and he's really good. But you know, there's I do trust Kevin O'Connell to make McCarthy as good as he can be, as quickly as he can be. I mean, he obviously, look, he did great things with Sam Darnold. He got some of the best play out of Kirk. He got, at times, good play out of backups and Dobbs and Mullins, but um, you know, I don't think they're going to think that way. And I think they're believers in McCarthy. I think they are going to spend money. I think they are going to we are going to get we are going to be big time players in free agency. Um, it's just I do think Vikings fans are getting a little over the top about, oh, we're going to get all these guys. Well, if you sign a few guys, that cap space that we got, that's going to go real fast. And we still got to re-sign a lot of our guys, and we don't have a lot of draft cap. Like, you know, hopefully hopefully Kwesi will nail this free agency period like he nailed last year. Obviously, last free agency period for the Vikings was fantastic. It was probably the best free agency season that they've ever had as a franchise. With Gink and Grenard and Jones and Darnold and some other guys, like they did just a great job. And they got a couple bargains in there. Um, and maybe they'll be able to find some good bargains too, this year too. Um, I know the cap went up a little bit again. I mean, it goes up every year. That's why, like, you know, all the worry about, oh, well, what cap space, like, you know, it's always going up. It's going to keep going up. Um, and they're, and this franchise, even pre Quasey, has always been very good at figuring out the salary cap. And there's even, there's probably guys they could work extensions for, and there's all sorts of shenanigans you can do to create more cap space if you need it. Um, I think most Vikings fans are gonna be real happy if, say, like, by basically like this time next week, or say in like 2 weeks from now, that we've gotten maybe one or two guards, maybe a defensive tackle, a couple guys in the secondary, figured out QB2, running back, you know, a lot of things to do, but I think and maybe another wide receiver. So, like, can we do all of that? That's a lot of stuff to do, all in free agency, and obviously you want to build through the draft primarily. Um, Obviously, like, we got 0 regular season snaps last year out of JJ McCarthy, and Dallas Turner was, showed some flashes, but didn't get there yet. If you know, but that we'll really be counting on those guys in 25. So, if those guys step up and are what we hope, then it's almost like we got a couple extra, high draft picks. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. So, I mean, I guess just as a fan standpoint, you always want your team to be like a big player in free agency, because it's more fun than just standing pat and doing nothing. Um, but and again, a lot of these guys are just names. I don't know too many of these guys. Obviously, some of them. You know, but the guys in the trenches are not necessarily the names everybody knows, but sometimes they're the most important players. And if we could build up that, the interiors, and really start to mash teams, I think that'll really make us formidable. And look, we won 14 games. You know, I know everyone's fraud. Say we were frauds, and I even admitted that we were frauds last year. But they did win 14 games. Like if you make some good improvements to key spots on the roster, you can absolutely be a contender in the NFC. You know, I mean, the Eagles look pretty damn unbeatable at, you know, as things finished up, but they're not. They're not invincible. They're going to lose guys. I mean, we might even sign somebody off the Eagles. Um, you know, it always changes from year to year, but I mean, you can absolutely, if you know JJ McCarthy's good and you do really well in free agency again, you can absolutely contend for a North title and maybe an NFC title. Um, so, best of luck to you, Kwesi. Best of luck to all the cap gurus, and you know we'll see what we do, and hopefully we get some studs in here and go get that North back.